I'll just knock.
Sir, what can I do for you?
I've heard your former waiter Jacques had an accident, and I was wondering if I might be just right to replace him.
Jacques, yes, he was my most talented waiter. It is a shame he had to end up like this. Well, there are surely some references you can tell me about.
The news about Jack's demise got around very quickly. There was one other way that we could have disposed of him.
And the suntan lotion is mine. Whoa, there's a warning on the Vaseline I didn't notice. Do not use an excessive sun as it could cause, fatal skin inflammation. So basically, if anything happens to Jacques, my ass is toast. Or his is, anyway. I should probably keep an eye on this. Whoop, he just put some on. Looks like everything's okay for now. Ah! Oh my God, what did I do? Annie, oh my God, Annie! I mean, sunburn is one thing, but Jacques just, my God!
That's why you should tell him to put on lots of lotion.
I'd like to help, but, oh God, there's not enough left to help! Annie ran off crying. She looks really bent out of shape. To be honest, I can't blame her. Waiter flambéed at Beach of Dreams. Self-cremation suspected. No, I was hoping to get some experience by starting out in a cheap small fry place like this.
How do you dare? Get out of my face on the double!
So much for that. Drat.
You again?
You must be confusing me with someone else.
Not really, because it was you who asked me for a job at this door.
No, that must have been, my good-for-nothing twin brother, Laramie McKracken.
My time is limited, so now what do you want?
I'm looking for a job as a waiter.
But unlike your brother, you should be telling me about some of your references, no?
I worked in a McDonald's drive-thru for years.
McDonald's? This does not ring any bells with me, so I think you had better look out for another fool. You heard?
Now that's kinda picky.
No, please don't tell me it's you again.
What do you mean?
I mean that just some minutes ago you were...
Oh, no, that was my crazy twin brother, Monroe McKracken. Simple mistake.
Oh, what a horrible family you have. Fair enough. You apparently want to work as a waiter. So what about your references?
Sure. I used to work at Lefty's Bar all the time in college. I was very popular.
Les Avitis? Brilliant, monsieur. So please show me how to balance a tray. Will you show me how? How dare you take me for a fool like this? Don't you ever knock on this door ever again.
Bottom-feeding reporter causes high society waiter to blow his top.
Something tells me that Zak did this on purpose.
The chef is blocking the doorway. There's no way for me to sneak past him.
I guess the waiter is still cleaning up. Bonjour, monsieur. Lovely summer evening, isn't it? Would I be too forward in asking you to join me for a bottle of Chateau Brisant 96?
Oui, with pleasure. This clearly underlines your seamlessly good manners.
Well, thank you. My parents prided themselves on teaching me good manners.
As you give me the impression of having extraordinary exquisite tastes. You may please agree on helping me with my decision.
It would be an honor. I hear the pike is extremely good. They come from the lovely Scottish lakes, so they can enjoy the company of other pikes, if you get my meaning. That long swim makes them exceptionally tender and healthful. Ergo, I recommend la soupe de grand brochet.
Oh, I know so well you'd know what to recommend. What a marvelous proposal. Soup du grand brochet.
Would you mind ever so much if I left now? My chauffeur is waiting to take me to a gala in Versailles I simply cannot miss.
Yes, of course, even though it was a bit of a pity to outwit such a well-educated conversation partner henceforth. But I am already sensing the odor of the soupe de grand brochet in my nostrils.
I'm going to tell the waiter about your order, and may you enjoy your exquisite meal. Bon appetit.
Thank you very much, most amicably.
Something tells me that odour is not the soup.
He'll know I'm faking it. If only I had a disguise. You're not going to get me to eat this. I shouldn't stretch it too far, it might break. Pinocchio? No, not in there. I'm sure this'll suit me. And how does it look? Ooh, I feel so posh now. Like the people in the Hamptons. I ain't reading that thing. I don't needs to. There, monsieur, your soup. Bon appetit.
Ah oui, thank you very much.
I better get out of here. Once he realizes what that bowl is, that waiter's going to be in deep merde. Let's see if I'm right.
Yeah, there is an air in the soup. And what sort of plate is that? Does it happen to be a chambre pot?
Ah, he found the hair. And now he's standing up and going to the waiter. Oh, that's... what do I keep getting into?
That is a bit of an overreaction.
I don't think he's talking right now. Good grief. Well, I'm sure he was asking for it. A hernia is the last thing I need. That really doesn't interest me.
Use him to do what exactly?
I'll only perform autopsies on dead people. Not too bad, huh?
I've witnessed your impressive performance, Mr.
McKracken. Zachary McKracken.
What a most nifty way of solving that puzzle, Mr. McKracken. As you previously guessed correctly, I actually am Dr. Julio Levy, Professor of Neurobiology and Botany. So if you wish to ask me some questions, I'm fully at your disposal.
What are you currently researching?
At the moment, I'm doing research on this marvelous starfish blueberry soup. I can tell you it will be a true figurehead of French cooking.
That really sounds delicious.
Point taken. That aside, I'm really happy that this fine day lacks the disagreeable component of footing the bill.
Starfish and blueberry soup. That sounds absolutely horrible.
Can you explain why my tomatoes keep shriveling up this year?
Well, look, if you live in a big city, your tomatoes may lack a sufficiently rich medium.
I've just returned from an expedition in New Mexico. I was the eyewitness to a most peculiar floristic phenomenon there.
That sounds interesting indeed. Tell me more.
Well, I was looking for your fellow scientists who mysteriously disappeared, and while I was exploring a deep pit there, a giant plant suddenly shot up trying to eat me. Inside the plant's head, I found the two archaeologists, who told me where to find you.
In the past, it often happened that a plant will develop excessive growth. But this even clearly exceeds anything that has happened to date.
Exactly. It's almost as if this plant was a man-eater. Pretty gruesome.
Together with a colleague of mine, I've discovered some new approaches which will grant quick growth to plants. Back then, we experimented with a lot of different methods of biological stimulation. There was our first success when we tried to talk to the planes. We found out that they will react on a clearly definable frequency and pulse range, which, by use of the Merriam vocal cords, are only reproducible in a rather inexact way, and furthermore, these sounds will range merely in lower frequency spectra anyway. Those chemical, run-of-the-mill fertilizers never did have the desired effect. They will only be of use as a long-lasting nutrition source for the plants. However, a bit later we did some research on an innovative technical development, which allowed us to influence their growth by high-frequency radiation, and eventually, we were even capable of gaining control over the plant's self-determination. Unfortunately though, our project was terminated right before the anticipated breakthrough.
Whoa, most interesting.
Well, I've done much more research on other subjects. Do you want to hear about them too?
Listen, I'd love to stay and hear more of your, enthralling stories. But right now I'm mostly interested in these giant plants. So why did your project get cancelled?
Well, that is a rather peculiar story. Some horticultural club is alleged to have attempted to bring our experiments to trial. The attorney even prohibited us from continuing our experiments henceforth. Then he confiscated our research materials and eventually forced us to cancel the project.
What club was that?
I can only faintly remember its name. It was a group unknown to me before. It was called Canonical Peace or something, from a town somewhere out in Switzerland.
Why did they accuse you guys?
Well, they allege that we did not provide the conditions appropriate for cultivating this type of plant. They also complain about our security concerns not being high enough. Well, as I said, they were waving the written verdict right in our faces, and when they left, they took all our research equipment from us. It was most frustrating.
What happened to your colleague?
Well, the verdict hit him real hard. Nor will he ever participate in another upcoming scientific project, he insisted. He also was sure that a conspiracy was responsible for the accusations in court. Meanwhile, he is actively pursuing his hobby, which is fishing. If you want to see him about that matter, you can go and meet him in Coventry, Scotland.
I should pay a visit to Scotland. There's a good chance the scientists there will have more information for me.
Well, Coventry isn't in Scotland. It's in the southern part of England. I say southern, it's more the South Midlands. In fact, Coventry is about 200 miles away from Scotland.
So, what are the projects you're actively working on?
Well, since our ambitious project was canned, my interest in biological science has come to an end.
And that means...
Well, it means that I spend a long time testing what way you can make a good living. Spending the least possible amount of money.
So you're unemployed?
Hell yeah! That accursed social system again. For years and years, I've been doing research for man's benefit, and where's my thank you now? Not even a thank you.
I'm sorry to hear that, but I'd thank you to stay on topic.
Bien sûr, I beg for your pardon.
I beg your pardon. I've got to go.
Au revoir.
Well, let's go to Scotland. Out of all of the places that...
Yes, back to that wonderful air service.
Out of all the towns and cities and villages in Scotland, they went with Coventry.
Well, where do we want to go this time? Scotland is waiting for me. It opens and closes automatically. You know what? I'm getting sick and tired of describing every single plant I run into. It's a plant, okay? Got it? Bad idea. Chuck gets jealous when I bring strange flowers home. These show the arrivals and departures, just like every other airport. Well, normally they would, but somebody's playing Space Invaders on them now. It's a small plastic castle. It's a perfect match to the backdrop. This should be Urquhart Castle near Inverness. If I'm lucky, that means I'm close to finding that archaeologist. Now, we have to leave something for the other tourists to look at. I have no time for playing. No warnings? That's not very interesting for a danger seeker like me. Of course, I did ignore that warning on the bottle of nail polish remover. I'd rather not talk about it. Wow. That's quite a painting. This airport isn't even half as dull as the others I've been to. Think it would look nice in my bedroom? Nah, maybe not. Off we go. Here we are. I hope this is the right place. The taxi driver seemed very sure of himself.
Is there any news? No, but there's trouble. One of our breedings has escaped. Excuse me? How could that happen? Obviously, someone forgot to close the door to the laboratory. The breeding object is probably still in close proximity. Slavic. We have to report this to the king immediately. Set up a connection.
Hi, this is David Fox. Hey, you seem familiar. You're that guy from my dream last night. Yeah, in my dream I saw you, those huge nose glasses and some strange face on Mars.
He knew too much. I had to exterminate him. Slavic, let me speak to the king now. Of course. A connection established. Boss, can you hear me?
Zlofik, what is it this time?
Sorry, boss, but it's an emergency. I was just informed that one of our breeding objects has escaped.
That cannot be true. Come off it. Evacuate the greenhouse and dispatch guards immediately. And give those green weeds some more of our serum. They have to obey me, and me alone.
Of course, Master. We arranged that.
The ruins of an old Scottish castle. Now all I need is a thunderstorm, a beautiful woman, and no shirt, and we've got a romance novel cover. I'm sure there are souvenirs in the gift shop. It's either a stone or a stone fish that tried to escape the water.
That does not look like a fish to me.
Stop making me pick up everything. No, there might be giant cockroaches under there waiting to strike. I'll leave it there. If it was flat, I could try skipping it on the lake. But it ain't flat. An old, hole-filled barge. I wonder how it can still be floating. Swiss cheese is more seaworthy. Mental note, if I ever buy a boat, make sure it's in better shape than this one. Much better. No, my pants will get wet. That's the last thing I want. Just your typical homegrown tree. Besides, I've got one at the office.
Besides what?
I'm not in the mood to climb trees right now. Under the boardwalk, people walking above. Under the boardwalk, we'll be falling in love. It's pretty rotten, but I don't think I could do that. I'd love to jump into the water. If only it wasn't that cold. Especially considering I don't have a towel. Brrr. A tree, like the kind found on every corner in this town. That would put an unsightly bulge in my pocket. Dr. Levy's colleague is on the ground, not in the tree. He's the only fisherman for miles. That's got to be Dr. Levy's colleague. I don't think he wants to leave. Hi there.
Shh!
You're about to chase away the fish.
You don't seem to catch anything anyway.
Well, basically, you even had a point here. But I'm afraid I have no time for long conversations today. I made a promise to my wife to catch a big fish for dinner. But as I can see, nothing wants to bite.
What do you suggest? Do you have bad technique?
My laddie, you don't remember those ancient electronic TV games with the fishing rods, do you?
Not really.
Electronic fishing rods? Must have missed those.
Hey, yeah, since I've been practicing those for several years, your argument about wrong technique just doesn't catch.
Could it be you're using the wrong bait?
Oh, that would even be the case. That's because those Scotch worms are extremely hydrophobic. You'd throw them on your rod, and willy-nilly they'd just jump off your hook. Now what a cheek.
Never heard of that before. How do you get around it?
Well, I use worms made from wine gums, but obviously I'm still unable to use that as an effective bait for fish.
Maybe Nessie ate all the fish.
You don't really believe those cock and bull stories, are you?
Well, I'm gonna go look for some other things around here.
Not many, my laddie. Not many.
I could look around for more suitable bait he could use. Maybe this will make him a bit more communicative.
How about this fish?
Hey, why not use this for bait?
Aye, sir. That looks real good. But how am I to fasten the bait to my tiny hook? Thanks, my boy, but without a bigger hook, this mission will surely fail. Here, my laddie, my fishing rod. Here you are. Please see to it that you can find me a bigger hook. I'm gonna wait until you return, aye?
It's not about the size of the hook, it's how you cast it.
Nothing to reel in.
We do have one hook.
This hook is way too blunt to use for fishing. I've sharpened the coat hook. Now it has an extremely sharp point. A fishing hook, though a little small for large bait. Okay, I'll remove this small hook and replace it with the coat hook I found at Stanislav's. Well, I'm gonna go look for some other things around here.
Not many, my laddie. Not many.
I could look around for more suitable bait he could use. Maybe this will make him a bit more communicative.
Okay, I was hoping that there would be a line of dialogue right there, but there wasn't.
Looks like I've got a bigger hook now.
Yeah, that's real good, chap. Off you go. Well, old chap, you wouldn't have reckoned such a handsome kind of fish, would ya? Ta much, because without you, the result would have been zilch. You can barely imagine the stink my missy would have kicked otherwise.
I do what I can.
After all these years, I would have given up the thought to actually finding any fish here ever. But alas, I forgot to bring my cooler.
Ew. From the looks of it, this is well beyond the expiration date.
Yeah, I really gotta look sharp. But there's a little time left for me spinning some sailor's yarn if you wish.
Well, something's been bothering me. Your accent isn't like the others, and you don't look like a typical fisherman. It's all a little fishy to me.
Congratulations for those good ears of yours. Look, I feel I can trust you. So yes, Switzerland is where I come from, and that whole thing is a disguise, because you can never be too cautious these days.
I've spoken to your old colleague, Dr. Levy, in Paris.
Good old Giulio chap. How's he doing?
Fine, I guess. He's ordering highfalutin stuff like starfish, blueberry ragu, and more there.
That old footy has always known how to spell savoir vivre.
He told me about your experiments and how some shady club shut you down. Can you tell me anything else?
So you're very likely to know about our research project. We did observation and research into cases of sudden, unnaturally strong plant growth. Shortly before our breakthrough, that particular horticultural club came in, and speaking of which, what was its name? Chemical Peace was the name. Those guys were reported to be meddling with the Swiss government, and even had the Swiss army behind them. When the court slapped us with a restraining order to axe our research, accusing us of species inappropriate plant housing, the army invaded our greenhouse and declared it a military exclusion zone.
So much for that infamous Swiss neutrality.
Eventually, they conveyed both our entire research material and results to that horticultural club, with the intention that it would take care of the reconciliation of our experimental plants.
Species inappropriate plant housing? Might as well throw anybody who owns a plant in jail. You know what grounds they accused you on?
By and by, the suspicious arose in me that this dubious organization has done research on similar phenomenons before we did. That's why they wanted to have us out of the way. The thought they only wanted to get the Nobel Prize before us is most absurd, though.
But instead?
Just imagine what a man could do if he had the power to control the plant growth. He could easily control the botanical market of the entire world.
Oh, yes, that would be a horrible situation, wouldn't it?
Without any doubt, because whoever had such a power would be able to produce magnificent plants in just one day, easily flooding every market. That could be a disastrous thing, because who knows if the plants cultivated this way will be able to ever reach the quality of the ordinary ones. Just use your imagination and think about plants aging faster. That is, you would buy a rubber tree, and by the end of the week, it would be dead. Confidence in plants would be shaken big time. No one would ever buy plants again, and we would end up living in a world without any indoor plants. What a horrible thought.
World population says goodbye to LO. Sounds pretty ridiculous. But couldn't this same technology be used to ruin fields? If this somebody made whole areas infertile, they could corner the market and make billions.
No, that sounds completely preposterous.
So what did they do with your papers?
Well, they occupied our entire greenhouse. I was there again once, but I was unable to get any closer anymore because the whole area is securely fenced and heavily guarded.
What would they need so much security for?
Most probably they've simply taken their own creations there, and P3800MS just want to use our results in order to bring theirs to perfection.
So I guess the only way to stop this insanity is to take a closer look. In Zurich.
So be fair warned, if you intend to walk around the security zone, it's vital for you to wear an effective disguise, because in there, everything is well guarded, and if you just stand out from the crowd a bit, you never know. Maybe you'd become Audrey's next dinner.
Whose dinner?
Audrey, she's a carnivore plant of a yet unknown species, P5500MS. I brought her with me many years ago from an expedition in the Mexican territory. She was the first plant to be responsive to our experiments, which led to her strict aversion to insects. She wants a more exquisite food now, you know?
Ugh, I don't want to think about that. Thanks for the advice, though. I'll try to come up with a good disguise. Ever wonder why this fish looks so hairy?
Yeah, I do. And it reminds me of times when I was still at sea with my fishing boat. For days nothing would bite, and then suddenly...
You don't have to pretend. I know you don't own a boat, let alone know how to use one.
Fair enough. Yes, you've caught me. But I also have to think of my disguise.
Okay, I think I have to run.
Tight lines, my laddie, and make sure to keep a stiff upper lip, eh?
Why is this fish hairy?
Now what the heck is this? A monstrous, prehistoric, and hairy fish? Wait, the fisherman said something about taking it home to his wife.
To what? Eat it? Or use it as a blanket?
That really doesn't interest me. I'll leave the fun of gutting the fish to the fisherman.
Maybe we can take some of its hair to use as a disguise.
I could try to cut off the hair. Would it be alright if I gave this hairy fish a little shave?
Sure thing. Just go on.
A little shave? That's a big shave.
Disgusting. That's the first, and hopefully the last, time I ever see a fish that hairy. I mean, sweet Moses and all that. Ugh. Can I borrow your fishing rod for a bit, please?
Just go on, laddie. I even postponed my plans of fishing to next week anyway.
Now an appropriate hook is attached to the fishing rod. A big hook for big fish.
Alright, let's get out of here.
Well, let's go over the plan. If I'm going to Zurich, I'll have to have a good disguise. Disguise? Maybe a mask. Yes! Good idea. But where to get one?
I am going to postpone that for now.
And where are we going to fly this time?
We are going to head back to San Francisco.
Finally, I can go back to home sweet home San Francisco.